The moment the doctor handed me the medical report, my heart felt like it hit fast forward. Pregnant. 6 weeks. My fingertips trembled, but a smile I couldn't stop spread across my lips. 10 years together. 7 years married. I thought fate had finally decided to grant me a bit of happiness. I couldn't wait to dial Nathan's number, but a sweet, unfamiliar woman's voice answered. Nathan, will you really divorce her and marry me? I heard his familiar, low laugh from the other end, gentle, nonchalant, yet every word felt like a knife. Of course. My smile froze on my lips. My almost slipped from my hand. A few seconds later, I heard my own voice, almost a whisper, Nathan. There was silence for a few seconds on the other end, as if he was thinking about how to end it all. Then, his cold voice dropped. Let's get a divorce. No reason. No explanation. It was like announcing the weather forecast. 10 years of affection, wiped clean with a single sentence. I walked all the way home from the hospital, the daylight blindingly bright. The report in my hand was crumpled, my palm covered in cold sweat. I even fantasized that maybe he was being framed or forced into this, until I pushed open the door to our old house, wreathed in smoke. He leaned lazily on the couch. A stunning woman was nestled in his arms. It was Tiffany, the company's newly signed artist. She looked up at me and said casually, "You're back." Her tone was as if I were an unwanted stranger. I paused for a few seconds, trying to keep my voice calm. Nathan, what is the meaning of this? Nathan snuffed out the cigarette in his hand, looked up at me, his expression so cold it was unfamiliar. Don't make a scene. Just say it. Your divorce terms. As soon as he finished speaking, Tiffany giggled and linked her arm through his. Nathan, see? I told you she wouldn't let go. Her eyes were gloating, like she was showing off a trophy. My fingers tightened, and I gave a cold, thin smile. Have you forgotten what day it is today? Nathan frowned. Our wedding anniversary. I stared at him. Then why did you choose today to bring someone home? Tiffany covered her mouth and laughed. Because it was my idea. She placed a hand on her stomach, her eyes glittering with malice. The baby in my belly can't remain illegitimate any longer. She paused, her voice syrupy sweet and venomous. If you have to blame someone, blame your own failure to conceive. In that instant, blood rushed to my head. I practically lunged forward, striking her with a slap. You're shameless. Asterisk smack. Asterisk. The sharp smack echoed through the living room. Nathan grabbed my wrist with surprising force. Audrey, that's enough. He flung me against the wall, and a sharp pain shot through my shoulder. I looked up, a cold smile on my face, and asked, "Do you know what I found out today?" He said coldly, "What trick are you trying to play now?" I slowly unfolded the crumpled paper and handed it to him. I'm pregnant. 6 weeks. The air froze for a few seconds. Nathan's pupils visibly constricted. Tiffany's face went pale, and then she shrieked. Impossible. I looked at them, finding it ironic. Such a perfect reaction. However, Nathan just sneered. He took the paper, threw it into the toilet, and flushed. Audrey, when did you learn to lie and try guilt-tripping? The sound of the flushing water drowned out my breath. Even if it's true, he said, I'll make you terminate the pregnancy. I stood there, eerily quiet. My heart grew colder, bit by bit, until he spoke the last sentence. Tomorrow morning at 10, at the county's office. Don't show up? I have ways. The door slammed shut with a bang, mixing the smell of smoke and the chill in the air. I looked at that door and finally smiled. I laughed until tears streamed down my face, uncontrollably. For 10 years, I stood by him as he went from an extra to an A-list actor, from unknown to celebrated. Now, he had personally turned me into a joke. Was it funny? Was it pitiful? Neither. In that moment, I suddenly understood. True despair isn't breaking down in tears. It's the clarity that comes after your heart dies. I walked into the bedroom and took out the marriage certificate from the drawer, the red booklet he had once torn with a laugh, saying, if I tear it, we can't get a divorce. I stared at it for a long time, smiling faintly. Nathan, 10 years ago you said you wanted to marry me. It was a long-planned desire. Well now, it's my turn to scheme. The next morning, the sun was too bright. I sat silently in front of the mirror for a long time. The woman in the mirror was pale, but her eyes were cold as frost. Those eyes, I hadn't seen myself like this in a long time. Nathan called, his tone like he was giving orders to a subordinate. 10 o'clock. County's office. Don't be late. I didn't answer. Just sent a text back. Don't worry. I want this divorce more than you do. I changed into a sharply tailored business dress, applied light makeup, and pinned up my hair. Understated, yet sharp. Even my smile was cold. At the entrance of the county's office, people came and went. I saw him at a glance. Nathan was wearing sunglasses, and Tiffany, by his side, was hidden behind a face mask. They stood very close, as if they were there to register a marriage, not a divorce. Have you decided on your terms? He spoke in a low, impatient tone. I smiled, my voice not loud, but every word resonated with conviction. The marital home goes to me, plus $50 million. He paused, then scoffed. Audrey, are you insane? Yes. I raised an eyebrow. You drove me insane. Tiffany's face changed. $50 million? She's extorting you. I turned my face to her. A mistress's interference dares to cry foul? How about I go to court and sue you right now? She choked. My smile deepened. Don't be scared. I have the audio recording. Tiffany's face went white. Nathan frowned. His voice lowered. What do you want? I turned to him. I don't want anything. I just want you to understand this divorce I'm granting you. It's not you bestowing it upon me. He stared at me, as if he were seeing me for the first time. After a long moment, he snuffed out the cigarette in his hand and said coldly, Fine. We'll do as you say. I smiled slightly. In that moment, I was not a discarded wife. I was the winner. The divorce procedures were quickly completed. Coming out of the county's office, he put his arm around Tiffany and smiled tenderly in full view of everyone. It was as if what had just ended was not a marriage, but a business transaction. I looked at them, my lips slightly curved. Congratulations. I wish you two grow old together, and hope you two crash and burn. Nathan's face darkened. Tiffany looked a little smug, and whispered, MS. Audrey, I'll take good care of Nathan. My eyes sharpened, and I gave a faint smile. You'd better take care of yourself. What do you mean? She asked, alarmed. I took a step closer. My tone calm. Your kissing photos from last night were taken, and reporters are on their way. Nathan hasn't publicly announced his divorce yet. So who do you think is selling you out? Tiffany's face instantly went deathly pale. I added in a low voice. He plays roles, and not just on screen. Nathan suddenly looked up. What do you mean? I laughed. Nothing. Just a reminder, you should learn from me and wake up early too. The sunlight that day was too blinding, shining on the divorce decree, a startling red. I sat in the taxi, watching the street scenes flash by outside the window, and suddenly felt, from today on, I was finally free. But that freedom came with a bone-deep ache. I looked down and touched my belly. Baby, I'm sorry. Tears fell, but I quickly wiped them away. I wouldn't cry anymore. Crying was the biggest waste of energy. I needed to save my strength for revenge. The stopped at the old house. That was the first house Nathan and I bought together, working hard for it. The house was old, but clean and cozy. We used to laugh here, planning our future. Now, only echoes remained. As I was packing, Lucky, our retired canine, suddenly ran out of the bedroom. It had something in its mouth and gently placed it at my feet. I looked down. It was a ring box. Nathan had bought it when he proposed. He had laughed and said, Lucky will deliver the wedding ring to you at the wedding. I slowly knelt down and stroked its head. Lucky, you remember, but your owner has long forgotten. Lucky barked once, as if comforting me. I smiled, picked up the box. Let's go. Lucky, we need to leave. The wind outside was chilly. My eyes calm and clear. I knew that from this moment on, I was no longer the Audrey who only cried. He thought I would break down, beg, and yield. But he was wrong. I lost 10 years in this marriage. But in the next game, I would win it all back, inch by inch. I thought divorce was the end of this nightmare. But I didn't expect it was just the prologue. 3 days after the divorce, I lost the baby. The doctor's expression was complex. Your body was already weak, coupled with extreme emotional fluctuations. This pregnancy couldn't be sustained. I listened blankly, unable to even cry. Later, I realized that when the pain is too extreme, a person doesn't even have the strength to cry. The white light in the hospital room was too bright enough to show every pale line on my face. I stared at the medical report, my fingertips slowly growing cold. I'm sorry, little one. Mommy couldn't protect you, I murmured softly, as if speaking to thin air. And also as if swearing to fate, Mommy won't be trampled on again. The day I was discharged from the hospital, the news exploded. A-list actor Nathan announces new relationship. Sweet caption, finally got what I wished for, tagging Tiffany. The accompanying picture showed their fingers intertwined. I looked at the screen and couldn't help but laugh. My shoulders shook with laughter. Finally got what I wished for? Those 4 words were as ironic as a slap in the face. 10 years ago, he used those same words to pursue me. Audrey, I like you, the kind I've been planning for a long time. Can you make my wish come true? Now, he had a new person, a new tone, new tenderness, and a new heart. I logged into my long-abandoned burner account. It was the small account he had created for us back then, to record our daily dating life. Over 1,000 Twitter. Now only 100-something remained. Cleaned out completely. Even memories were tidily removed. Only then did I understand, some people don't change. They've just been acting for so long that they believe their own performance. The day Aunt resigned, I went to the old house to pick her up. She stammered. That woman wouldn't let the dog bark your name. Said it was bad luck. My heart tightened, but I smiled. Bad luck? She doesn't deserve Lucky's loyalty. Aunt's eyes turned red. MS. Audrey, what do you plan to do now? I stroked Lucky's head. My gaze calm. Start over. I was once a fairly well-known agent in the industry, but these past few years, I gave up my career to be with Nathan. Now, I'm taking back everything that belongs to me. I went to a small entertainment company and signed my first artist, Leo, a sunny, rebellious teenager. The first time he saw me, he had red hair and a grin on his face. Sis, can I bring my girlfriend? She's very well behaved. I laughed at his words. Are you interviewing me? He scratched his head sheepishly. I'm afraid if I become famous, I'll be forced to break up. Sis, you wouldn't do that, would you? I paused, then nodded. No. If you love each other, you should protect it together, he said. Sis, you're really cool. I didn't say anything. Actually, I just wanted to tell my past self, the one who couldn't be protected by love, can now protect others. I took Leo to promotions and fought for resources. A few times, I drank so much for him that my stomach ached and I threw up blood. He was so heartbroken his eyes turned red. Sis, don't be like this. I can go by myself. I smiled and patted his shoulder. These are the rules. You need to learn to grow in the mud. But don't get dirty. He understood. From that day on, he began to practice his acting relentlessly, and approached directors himself to discuss scripts. A year later, Leo shot to fame with a low-budget drama. The very day he became famous, I was trending on Twitter. Photos, videos, timelines, everything was dug up. The words beneath the keyboard were like knives. She was clearly not good enough back then, using her status to force Tiffany away, just an old woman chasing clout, almost overnight. I went from nameless wife to vicious wife. My rang incessantly. It was Nathan. I picked up. Are you crazy? Why did you like Tiffany and my fan page? I sneered. I didn't. Audrey, stop pretending. Now that we're under public scrutiny, are you trying to ruin me? Ruin you? Did you ask me when you ruined me back then? He fell silent. I could imagine his expression at that moment, that of course kind of anger. He always thought I should be grateful to him. After a long pause, he said, $30 million. You delete the post and clarify. Is that enough? I laughed until tears came out. Nathan, the thing you're best at now isn't acting. It's humiliating people with money. He hung up the phone. A few days later, I saw his long social media post. Audrey and I were only in a relationship and broke up a long time ago. Personality differences. Wishing each other well. Fans expressed their sympathy. I was cursed as a public enemy. He thought I would break down. Thought I was still the Audrey who would cry and beg him. But he was wrong. I registered a new account, stitching together our dating records, wedding photos, and videos from those years into a complete timeline. Finally, I added a sentence. Thank you, A-list actor, for playing a good husband for 10 years. Click post. In that moment, my heart was completely calm. Public opinion exploded instantly. Confirmed marital infidelity. Confirmed jerk. She actually hid it for so long. The tide of public opinion completely reversed. Nathan's company exploded. Endorsement deals cancelled. Brands sought legal action. Fans abandoned him en masse. And I, for the first time, was called legendary ex-wife. That night, my phone vibrated. Leo sent a message. Sis, you won. I looked at the screen, my fingertips tapping out. No, this isn't winning. It's settling accounts. In the mirror, My makeup was flawless, my eyes dark as night. In that moment, I finally understood. True revenge isn't about destroying him. It's about letting myself shine again. In the entertainment industry, the biggest fear is never gossip. It's undeniable proof. That night, after I sent that Twitter, I turned off my phone. I didn't expect that within just a few hours, the internet would completely explode. #1 trending topic: Nathan's marital infidelity confirmed. 10 years of loyal companionship exchanged for betrayal. Legendary ex-wife Audrey. Surge of traffic was like a tsunami, demolishing the skyscraper he had so carefully built. Countless marketing accounts dug up the timeline of our relationship, marriage, and cohabitation. Fans cried while unfollowing, shouting, "I'll never believe in love again." Nathan's PR team worked all night on damage control, but every single post was contradicted by evidence I had prearranged. Original copies of wedding photos, videos, audio recordings, contract duplicates. Every piece resonated with undeniable truth. In this career implosion storm, I only made one post. The rest, he destroyed himself. The next morning, I went to work as usual. When the elevator door opened, the company receptionist, Chloe, looked shocked. "Audrey, did you see the news? Nathan has been blacklisted by the company." I said, indifferently. "What's meant to happen will happen." Then, I turned and entered the conference room. My colleagues didn't dare to mention the matter, but I could feel their gazes: respect, admiration, and a touch of awe. I was no longer the ex-wife people pitied. I had become the queen who could bring down an A-list actor. At noon, my phone vibrated. It was Nathan. I stared at the screen for a long time, then answered. There was complete silence on the other end, only his suppressed breathing. After a long moment, he spoke. "Audrey, you won." I leaned back in my chair, my voice calm as a still lake. "I never wanted to win against you." He was silent. "I just didn't want to lose anymore." In the evening, I bought coffee at the convenience store downstairs. At the checkout, the cashier recognized me. "Audrey, I'm your fan. You're amazing." I paused for a few seconds, then smiled and took the coffee. "Thank you." Stepping out of the store, the rain was coming down heavily. I didn't have an umbrella, and looked up at the gray sky. Sometimes, the truth is like this rain, messy in its descent, yet leaving clarity in its wake. A few days later, I received an unfamiliar call. It was the renowned director, MS. "Audrey, I'd like to invite you to be the producer for my next film." I was surprised. "Are you sure you want me?" He laughed. "Who knows this industry better than you? You can make people's careers implode, and you can make them soar. I've only seen one person like that." In that moment, my throat tightened. 10 years ago, I chased after others, begging for opportunities. 10 years later, others sought me out. I suddenly realized that true retaliation isn't making others kneel. It's standing taller yourself. At the same time, Nathan's world completely crumbled. Endorsement deals cancelled. Brands blacklisted him. Partners chased debts. On the 7th day of his disappearance from the screen, he was photographed sitting alone outside a bar. Once adored by millions, now ignored by all. A netizen commented, "The suffering he acted, this time, is finally real." When I saw that news, I only felt karma. It never comes late. Late at night, I opened my computer. On the screen was an old video from when we were together. 22-year-old me, smiling brightly. 22-year-old him, holding flowers, eyes shining. "Audrey, I'm going to marry you, and be good to you for a lifetime." The video paused at that second. I reached out and pressed delete. Completely deleted. Not even to the recycle bin. The light reflected on my face, and I whispered, "Goodbye, Nathan." A month after the career implosion storm, the heat of public opinion finally began to shift. New gossip and new scandals came in waves. The audience's attention, like a tide, came fast and receded even faster. But the difference was, this time, what remained after the tide receded wasn't emptiness, it was me. Director's film project was quickly approved. The producers were hesitant at first, until director slammed his hand on the table at a meeting. "She can turn a crisis into a miracle." I've only seen one person like that. On my first day as producer, standing on the film, the air was filled with the heat of the lights, the smell of actors' sweat, and the hum of cameras. All of it, so familiar to me. Only this time, I was no longer the A-list actor's wife who waited outside the film for autographs, or prepared water and scripts for others. I was the one in control of the entire situation. Director. This scene would have more impact if shot from a low angle. The assistant handed over the storyboard. I glanced at it and said calmly, "Change it to handheld. We want realism, not showing off." The staff nodded. In that moment, I saw respect in their eyes. Not politeness, not fear, but genuine conviction. Director walked over and patted my shoulder. "I misjudged you back then. I thought you were just the woman behind an A-list actor." I smiled. "Luckily, you misjudged." After the film was released, the premiere box office exceeded 100 million, and critical acclaim exploded. Film critics wrote, "The sharpness of this film is hidden in a woman's silence and rebirth." I was called by the media for the first time, the most promising female producer. That day, I opened a bottle of whiskey at home. Lucky lay at my feet, and I gently swirled the glass, looking out at the night. Thousands of homes lit, traffic flowing. This city never stopped because of someone's fall. I softly murmured to myself, "Audrey, see? You can do it too." A reporter asked me, "Director, have you considered returning to acting? You have such a strong screen presence." I smiled. "No, I've acted enough. It's just that, back then, the script wasn't written by me." The audience applauded thunderously. In that moment, I understood what my own stage was. It wasn't standing in the spotlight, but deciding where the light should fall. At the same time, Nathan was completely blacklisted. All his resources were cut off. Even variety shows wouldn't invite him. Paparazzi photographed him working at a bar. Netizens commented, "Those hands. They held an A-list actor's trophy, and they also served drinks." When I saw that news, my chest tightened slightly, but I felt no pity. Sometimes, fate's punishment isn't to destroy you, but to let you live and watch others live better. At the awards ceremony at the end of the year, I went on stage as a producer to accept an award. The host asked me, "What do you think is your keyword for this year?" I smiled and replied, "Rebirth." The audience applauded thunderously. As I walked off the stage, the lights fell on my shoulders. In that moment, I suddenly felt, even the air became soft. After the ceremony, the backstage corridor was bustling with people. My assistant hurried over, "Director, someone is looking for you outside." I turned around. The person wore a hat. Standing under the dim light, it was Nathan. He had lost a lot of weight, his eyes hollow. "Can we talk?" he asked in a low voice. I looked at him and said calmly, "You have no right." I turned and left. He didn't follow. The light from behind him cast his entire figure into a shadow. I didn't look back. In that moment, I knew I had truly won. The winter wind was colder than previous years. I had just returned to the company from the film when my assistant rushed into the office. "Director, there's someone outside." Someone who says they're an old acquaintance of yours." I looked up and said faintly, "Let him in." The door was pushed open. The man wore a cheap cotton jacket, his face haggard, his hair disheveled. He stood at the doorway, hesitating for 2 seconds before speaking. "Audrey." "Nathan." He looked as if all the color had been drained from him. Gone was his former glory and spirited demeanor. "Is there something you need?" I asked, my tone calm. He took a step forward, his lips trembling slightly. "I know I have no right, but I still wanted to see you one last time." I didn't say anything. "They're going to sue me about the company's accounts," he said in a low voice. I really can't take it anymore." I leaned against the desk, my tone as flat as if discussing the weather. "Serves you right." He froze for a moment, the smile on his lips bitter. "I know. I just wanted to ask one thing. Do you have any regrets?" I looked up at him. "Regret what? Regret saving you? Or regret not leaving sooner?" His throat caught, and after a long moment, he choked out, "I truly made a mistake." "So what if you made a mistake?" I interrupted him. "Aren't you an A-list actor? Even when acting remorse, you need to show emotion." His eyes turned red. "Audrey, hate me, scold me, but don't look at me like that." "What about me?" I said with a faint smile. "I'm just seeing you clearly now." He suddenly dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry." In that moment, the air fell completely silent. I looked at him, my eyes devoid of pity. He knelt decisively, but it couldn't earn him any forgiveness. "Nathan, do you know? You once said, 'My greatest wish in this life is to marry the girl I love most.' But then everything you did was like personally killing that girl." He cried, his shoulders trembling slightly, and I just watched him calmly. "If you truly want to atone, then face the law. He looked up, tears streaming down his cheeks. You're really not going to show any mercy at all? I leaned down, my voice soft, yet sharp as a blade. The 10 years I showed you mercy was more than enough. I turned and walked to the window, my back to him. Get out. Audrey, I didn't look back. Don't say my name. Those are words you don't deserve to utter. The door gently closed. That bang was like the final page closing on the past. The next morning, I received news. Nathan was taken away by the police. Formally arrested. News headline, former A-list actor Nathan arrested for suspected economic crimes. I looked at the screen without much emotion. I just gently put down my phone, picked up the coffee beside me, and slowly took a sip. Bitter, yet with a lingering aftertaste. A few months later, the court announced its verdict. Nathan, 15 years in prison. I was invited to attend the trial. That day, when he was brought into the court, he looked at me, his eyes a mix of fear, nostalgia, and a humble plea. His lips moved slightly. Wait for me, okay? I stood up and walked towards him. I took off my sunglasses, revealing the new wedding ring on my hand. That depends on if my husband agrees. His face went pale, and he froze completely. The gavel struck. The defendant, Nathan, is sentenced to 15 years in prison. Stepping out of the court, the sun was shining brightly, the wind was no longer cold, and the streets were bustling with people. I took a deep breath, suddenly feeling an unprecedented sense of ease. My assistant hurried up behind me, whispering, "Director, are you going to the celebration banquet?" Director and everyone are already there. I smiled, "Let's go." As the wind swept through my long hair, I thought, this is what freedom tastes like. A full year had passed since that trial. Winter turned to spring, and the world changed colors. On the 1-year anniversary celebration of Aurora, the lights were dazzling, and the hall echoed with toasts. Young artists surrounded me, their eyes filled with admiration. "Ms. Audrey, you're a legend in our industry." "Exactly. From former A-list actor's wife to the strongest female boss. It's so inspiring." I raised my glass, my smile gentle. Legend is too strong a word. I've just finally become the person I wanted to be. News articles covered the internet the next day. Audrey, a woman's path to rebirth. She didn't wait for a prince. She became her own castle. Netizen comments were overwhelmingly positive. This is what a female protagonist should be like. I looked at the comments in my office, my lips curving slightly, not out of pride, but because, finally, so many girls were commenting after reading her story. I want to start my life over. That sentence was more precious than any award. That night, I went alone to my father's gravesite. The mountain breeze was gentle, and tree shadows swayed. I placed a bouquet of white lilies at the tombstone, and also set out my father's favorite bottle of whiskey. "Dad," I whispered, "I didn't let you down." The wind brushed by, like an invisible hand, gently patting my shoulder. I seemed to hear that familiar admonition, "Sweetheart, just be true to yourself." I smiled, tears in my eyes, but they were warm. On the way back, the car radio played old songs. The city night, the lights gentle. A news flash appeared on the digital billboard at the intersection. Former A-list actor Nathan, showing good behavior in prison, will be transferred to a cultural and entertainment correctional program. I glanced at it, then calmly turned my head away. From now on, his world had nothing to do with mine. He had his atonement. I had my future. Spring had arrived. Sunlight fell on the glass of the Aurora building, flashing a golden glow. Chloe knocked on the door. "Director, this afternoon's meeting has been moved to 2 o'clock. And also, Brendan invited you to the premiere." I smiled. "Tell him I'll bring the cake." As I left, Lucky waited for me by the elevator. It was old now, its movements much slower, but its eyes were still gentle. I stroked its head. "Let's go, Lucky. We're going to the movies." In the elevator mirror, a figure was reflected, a woman, in a sharp business suit, with resolute eyes. No longer a supporting character in someone else's story. Outside the cinema, media swarmed. Flashbulbs lit up simultaneously. "Director, what's the one thing you want to say right now?" I took the microphone, my smile faint yet sincere. "I hope every woman can understand, you are not an accessory to anyone, nor anyone's shadow. You can become your own light." Applause erupted. In that moment, I seemed to see ginkgo leaves falling all around, like golden rain, showering down on the long road ahead. It was late at night. I stood on the balcony, looking at the city lights. The wind blew gently, carrying the scent of flowers. I raised my glass and murmured, to the past, to myself, and to this long, winding road. Ginkgo leaves brushed my palm, soft and warm. I smiled. My smile was confident, peaceful, and luminous. The road ahead is long, and it shines brightly. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.